Let me ask you something straight up. When was the last time you actually put yourself first? Not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. When was the last time you said, my time matters, my energy matters, my peace matters? Because most people never do. They give everything to everyone else and leave nothing for themselves. And then they wonder why they're exhausted, overlooked, and disrespected. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't focus on yourself, nobody else will. If you don't value yourself, why should anyone else bother? People are only going to treat you the way you teach them to. And right now, some of you have been teaching the world that you're disposable, that you're always available, that your boundaries don't matter, that your voice doesn't matter. And every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you shrink back instead of standing tall, you are proving them right. But what if I told you it doesn't have to stay that way? What if I told you that everything in your life could change the moment you decide to focus, not on what others think, not on what others want, but on who you are and what you're worth? Because the second you make yourself the priority, you stop playing small. You stop begging for respect and start commanding it. You stop waiting for someone to choose you and you start choosing yourself. Think about it. How many hours have you wasted scrolling through someone else's highlight reel instead of building your own? How many times have you poured into relationships, jobs, or people that gave you nothing back? How many times have you put yourself last because you thought that's what being good looked like? Let me be clear. That's not good. That's not noble. That's self-destruction dressed up as kindness. And it's costing you your life. You are here right now because deep down, you know you've been playing at half your power. You know you've been distracted. You know you've been giving away your best energy to things and people that don't deserve it. And you're tired of it. That's why you're listening. That's why you feel that pull in your chest. Because something inside you is screaming. It's time. It's time to focus. It's time to value yourself. So here's the promise I'll make you. This isn't going to be a pep talk. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything or whisper sweet affirmations in your ear. I'm here to hold up a mirror. I'm here to tell you the truth you already know, but keep avoiding, that the gap between the life you have and the life you want isn't about luck, money, or even talent. It's about focus. It's about value. And the second you take yourself seriously, the world will too. Now let me ask you this. If you keep living the way you are right now, distracted, unfocused, constantly giving away your power, where will you be a year from now? 5 years? 10? Will you be proud of yourself? Or will you look back and wonder how much potential you wasted? Because the reality is this, you don't get those years back. You don't get those hours back. You don't get those chances back. And if you keep pouring everything out for others while neglecting yourself, you'll end up empty, bitter, and invisible. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can change it. You can draw the line today. You can decide that from this moment forward, your focus is not going to be scattered, your value is not going to be ignored, and your life is not going to be wasted. Because once you make that decision, everything shifts. You walk differently. You talk differently. You carry yourself differently. And people notice. So the question I'm asking you right now isn't whether you want to change, because I already know you do. The question is whether you're ready to stop waiting, stop excusing, stop playing small, and finally step into the power that comes when you decide to focus and value yourself. Because the second you do, you'll realize you are never lacking. You were just distracted. Are you ready? Let me start by asking you a question that might sting a little. When was the last time you truly put yourself first? Not in a selfish way, not in a way that dismisses other people. I mean, in a way that says, my time matters, my energy matters, my voice matters, I matter. For most people, the answer is never. You've been trained to believe that putting yourself last somehow makes you noble, that sacrificing everything for everyone else is the way to earn respect, love, or validation. And maybe for a while you believed that. But look at where it has gotten you. You're tired. You're drained. You feel invisible. You give, and yet you never feel full. You show up for everyone, but when it's your turn, suddenly nobody has time. Do you know why? Because you've been teaching the world exactly how to treat you. Every time you ignore your own needs, you send a message. Every time you stay quiet when you should speak up, you send a message. Every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, you send a message. And that message is loud and clear. I don't value myself. I don't respect myself. I don't see myself as important. And people believe you. Here's the reality check. If you don't focus on yourself, nobody else will. If you don't value yourself, nobody else is going to magically do it for you. Respect is not something you beg for. It's something you command. And you can't command it if you don't even believe you deserve it. Too many of you are waiting for someone to come along and recognize your worth, when in fact it has to start with you. Because the truth is simple. People are only going to treat you according to the standard you set. If you set it low, they'll step all over you. If you set it high, they'll rise up to meet you. But let me ask you this. How long are you going to keep betraying yourself? Because that's exactly what it is. Every time you put everyone else's priorities ahead of your own, you betray yourself. Every time you neglect your goals because you're too busy chasing someone else's approval, you betray yourself. Every time you let someone talk down to you, dismiss you, disrespect you, and you stay silent, you betray yourself. You wouldn't tolerate that for someone you love, so why do you tolerate it for yourself? Maybe you tell yourself it's easier this way. Maybe you've convinced yourself you're being good. But let me tell you the hard truth. There's nothing good about neglecting yourself. There's nothing noble about destroying your own spirit for the sake of pleasing others. That's not kindness, that's weakness. And weakness always gets exploited. The world doesn't reward people who are endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, endlessly selfless. The world rewards those who know their value, who set boundaries, who have the courage to say, no, I matter. And that's what this is about, finding the courage to put yourself back at the center of your own life. Because that's where you belong. Think about how much energy you've wasted on distractions. Scrolling endlessly, comparing yourself to people who don't even know you exist, pouring your heart into relationships that give nothing back. How much time have you wasted chasing validation, approval, and acceptance from people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow? And then when you finally look in the mirror, you wonder why you feel so empty. It's not because you're broken. It's because you've been giving away pieces of yourself to everyone else, and you never stop to refill your own tank. But here's the good news. You can change it. You can flip that script today. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to wait for someone to finally say, you're enough. You can decide right here, right now, that your focus shifts back to you. That your energy is no longer wasted on people and things that don't deserve it. That your standards are no longer negotiable. That from this moment forward, you will stop betraying yourself and start valuing yourself. And listen, I get it. It's not going to be easy. People will resist. They're used to the old you, the one who was always available, always agreeable, always willing to sacrifice. They will push back. They will call you selfish. They will accuse you of changing. But let me tell you something good. Let them. Because the people who truly belong in your life will respect the fact that you finally respect yourself. And the ones who can't handle it, they were only benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Losing them isn't a loss. It's a win. So here's the challenge I'm putting in front of you. Stop waiting. Stop hoping that someone else will swoop in and show you your value. Stop telling yourself that one day you'll finally put yourself first. One day is a lie. One day is how people waste entire lifetimes. The only day you have is today. The only moment you have is right now. And the question you have to answer is this. Are you ready to finally focus? Are you ready to finally value yourself? Are you ready to stop living at half your potential and step into the life that's been waiting for you all along? Because make no mistake, the life you want, the respect you crave, the success you're chasing, it all begins here. With you. With the decision to stop playing small, stop betraying yourself, and start living like someone who knows they're worth it. The moment you decide that, everything changes. So I'll ask you one last time. Are you ready? Every choice you make has a price tag. And the choices you've been making, putting yourself last, ignoring your needs, dismissing your worth, They've been costing you more than you realize. You think you're avoiding conflict by staying quiet. You think you're keeping the peace by saying yes. You think you're being good by putting yourself second. But let me be blunt, you are not keeping the peace, you are creating chaos inside of yourself. And that chaos, that internal war, shows up in every part of your life. The first cost is your energy. You only get so much of it every single day. And instead of protecting it like the precious resource it is, you've been giving it away like free samples at a grocery store. Every time you answer a call you didn't want to take, every time you show up to an event you didn't want to attend, every time you pour into someone who drains you dry, you're making withdrawals from your own energy bank. And what happens when you constantly withdraw without depositing? You go bankrupt. And that's exactly where many of you are, emotionally bankrupt, mentally drained, spiritually exhausted. Not because you don't have enough to give, but because you've been giving it all away to the wrong things. The second cost is your confidence. Every time you silence your own voice to avoid offending someone else, you chip away at your self-respect. Every time you dismiss your own ideas because you're scared of what people will think, you make yourself smaller. And the dangerous part is this: it becomes a habit. You start teaching yourself not to trust your own judgment. You start believing that what you want doesn't matter, that your needs are negotiable, that your dreams are too much. And over time you stop even trying. You stop raising your hand. You stop speaking up. You stop showing up. Until one day you wake up and realize you don't even know who you are anymore. Then comes the cost of your relationships. Let me tell you something most people won't. If you don't value yourself, the people around you won't either. You'll attract takers, manipulators, and users because they can smell low self-worth from a mile away. They know you'll tolerate less. They know you'll accept crumbs. They know you'll stick around even when they treat you poorly. And the sad part is, some of you are calling that love or loyalty when really it's exploitation. Real love, real friendship, real connection, those things only come when you respect yourself enough to demand it. And what about your career, your future, your goals? You think neglecting yourself doesn't affect that? Think again. Every time you put other people's priorities ahead of your own, you push your dreams further and further away. You tell yourself you'll get to it later, after you've handled everything else. But later never comes. Weeks turn into months, months into years. And suddenly the opportunities you wanted have passed you by. Not because you weren't capable, not because you weren't smart enough, but because you didn't value yourself enough to prioritize your own goals. You sacrificed your future for someone else's comfort. And let's talk about your health, because that's one of the biggest costs of all. Stress, anxiety, burnout, sleepless nights. These aren't random. They're the direct result of neglecting yourself. Your body keeps the score. Every boundary you ignore, every need you suppress, every resentment you swallow, it all adds up. And eventually it shows up in your health. Headaches, fatigue, stomach problems, chronic stress. Some of you are carrying physical pain, not because of genetics, not because of bad luck, but because you've been living a life of constant self-betrayal. But maybe the biggest cost of neglecting yourself is this. You lose time. Time you will never get back. You can recover money. You can recover energy. You can even recover from failure. But you can never recover time. And every day you spend living at half your value is a day you will never get again. One day you're going to look back and realize how much of your life you wasted on things that didn't matter, people who didn't care, and obligations that didn't build you. And that realization will hurt more than anything else. So let me ask you, how much longer are you willing to pay that price? How many more years are you willing to trade away? Because the bill always comes due. And the longer you neglect yourself, the higher the cost. You can pretend it's not happening. You can tell yourself you'll change tomorrow. But tomorrow doesn't magically erase the damage. Tomorrow doesn't give you back the time you lost. Tomorrow just keeps stealing from you. One day at a time. Here's the truth. The cost of neglecting yourself is too high. It's costing you your energy, your confidence, your relationships, your goals, your health, and your time. And the scariest part? The longer you do it, the more normal it feels. You stop noticing the drain. You start convincing yourself, this is just life. But it's not life, it's survival. And you weren't put here to just survive. You were put here to live, to grow, to thrive. So let this be your wake-up call. Stop paying a price you can't afford. Stop giving away what you don't even have. Stop letting the world set your value. Because the longer you neglect yourself, the more you rob yourself of the life you could have had. And the question you need to ask yourself right now is simple. How much longer are you willing to let that happen? The answer should be clear. No more. Focus is the most valuable currency you have, and yet it's the one you spend the most carelessly. Everyone talks about time being precious, but time without focus is worthless. You can sit in front of your goals for hours, but if your attention is scattered, if your mind is everywhere but on what matters, you've accomplished nothing. Focus is what turns time into progress. Focus is what takes potential and turns it into result. And right now, for most of you, your focus is fractured. Think about it. How many times a day do you reach for your phone without even thinking? How many hours disappear into scrolling, swiping, or binge-watching someone else's life while yours sits on pause? How many days have you lost because you let distractions steal your attention? The truth is, the world is designed to keep you unfocused. Notifications, advertisements, endless entertainment, all of it is built to capture your attention and sell it back to you. If you don't take control of your focus, someone else will. And when they do, you're no longer living your life, you're living theirs. But let's go deeper. Focus isn't just about avoiding distractions, it's about choosing where your energy goes. It's about saying this is what matters and everything else can wait. And that requires courage, because focus forces you to confront the truth about what you really want and what you're willing to let go of. Most people don't want to make those choices. They'd rather stay busy than be focused. They'd rather do 10 things halfway than do one thing fully. Because if they fail while unfocused, they can always blame the distraction. But if they give their full focus and still fall short, that terrifies them, so they scatter themselves thin and call it multitasking, when in reality it's avoidance. Let me give it to you straight. Nothing great has ever been built without ruthless focus. You can't build a career, a body, a business, or a life of value if you're constantly dividing your attention. Success doesn't go to the person who dabbles in everything. It goes to the one who locks in on what matters and refuses to be pulled away. Focus is power, and the more you protect it, the more powerful you become. Now here's the part most people miss. Focus isn't just about productivity. It's about identity. What you focus on becomes who you are. If you focus on problems, you become a victim. If you focus on excuses, you become lazy. If you focus on growth, you become stronger. If you focus on discipline, you become unstoppable. Your focus shapes your reality. And if your life right now feels chaotic, scattered, unfulfilling, it's not because you're cursed. It's because your focus is in the wrong place. Think about how many times you've focused on people who don't even deserve a second of your time. How many times you've replayed arguments in your head, obsessed over people who hurt you, compared yourself to strangers online. You gave them your attention, your energy, your focus, and what did it give you back? Nothing but stress, insecurity, and wasted time. Imagine if all that focus had been poured into building yourself instead. Where would you be right now? That's the power of focus. It multiplies whatever you give it to. If you give it to distractions, you get emptiness. If you give it to fear, you get paralysis. But if you give it to your goals, your growth, your self-value, you get transformation. Focus is the great amplifier, and you're the one deciding what it amplifies. And let's talk about the discipline of focus, because this isn't about motivation. It's about commitment. You don't wait to feel like focusing. You don't wait until life is calm and quiet. You choose it. You decide that no matter what noise is happening around you, your energy stays locked on what matters. That means turning off your phone, shutting the door, saying no to people, cutting out anything that pulls you away from your purpose. Saying no is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. But let me be clear. Focus requires sacrifice. You can't be everywhere, do everything, and please everyone if you want to be focused. You will have to let things go. You will have to walk away from people who waste your time. You will have to shut down distractions that give you temporary pleasure but steal your long-term growth. And that's where most people fail. They want the results of focus without the sacrifice. They want to be respected, successful, and fulfilled, but they don't want to turn off Netflix, put down their phone, or spend Friday night working instead of partying. And that's why they stay stuck. You're different. You're here because you know you can't afford to live distracted anymore. You're here because some part of you knows that your focus has been fractured for too long, and it's costing you your future. You're here because you're ready to reclaim your attention and direct it where it belongs, on you, on building yourself, on valuing yourself, on creating a life that reflects your worth. And let me tell you what happens when you do. When you truly focus on yourself, everything shifts. You stop being available for nonsense. You stop entertaining people who waste your time. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're too busy building your own path. You start seeing progress, and that progress builds confidence. That confidence builds momentum. And before you know it, the same people who used to overlook you are now asking how you did it. That's the power of focus. It makes you undeniable. So here's the reality check. Your life is a reflection of your focus. If you don't like where you are right now, stop blaming luck. Stop blaming circumstances. Stop blaming other people. Start looking at where your attention has been going. Because until you take control of your focus, nothing changes. But the moment you do, everything does. So the question is simple. What are you going to choose to focus on? The noise, the distractions, the people who don't care? Or yourself, your goals, your growth, your value? Because whatever you choose, that's who you will become. Value isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Too many people are waiting for someone else to tell them they're valuable. They think a promotion, a relationship, or the approval of others is what makes them matter. But that's not how it works. Value isn't handed to you. It's created day by day through the standards you set, the choices you make, and the discipline you keep. The reason so many people feel invisible is because they've outsourced their self-worth. They've made it dependent on how others treat them instead of how they treat themselves. That's a dangerous game, because the moment someone ignores you, criticizes you, or walks away, your entire sense of self collapses. That's not value, that's dependency. Real value is unshakable. It doesn't rise and fall based on who stays or who leaves. It comes from within, and it's non-negotiable. So how do you build that kind of value? It starts with keeping the promises you make to yourself. Think about it. Every time you say you'll do something, and you actually follow through, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you are. You're teaching yourself to trust yourself. You're showing your own mind that your word matters. And every time you break those promises, when you say you'll start the gym on Monday, and you don't, when you say you'll wake up early and you hit snooze, when you say you'll quit the habit and you go right back, you chip away at your own value, not because anyone else knows, but because you know. And deep down, you can't respect someone who constantly lies to you. Self-value is built in those quiet moments, when nobody is watching, when it's just you and your choices. It's in the discipline to show up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's in saying no when you want to say yes, just to please someone else. It's in protecting your time like it's gold, because it is. The more you respect yourself in the small decisions, the stronger your value becomes. Next comes standards. Let's be real. People will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you allow disrespect, you'll get disrespect. If you allow people to use you, they'll use you. If you let others take advantage of your kindness, they'll keep taking. Setting standards isn't about arrogance, it's about respect. It's about deciding what you will and won't tolerate in your life. In the moment you raise your standards, everything changes. The people who can't meet them will fall away. And that's a good thing, because the only ones who remain are the ones who value you, the way you value yourself. But here's the catch. You can't demand a level of respect from others that you don't practice on yourself. If you want people to value your time, you have to stop wasting it. If you want people to respect your boundaries, you have to stop crossing your own. If you want people to listen to you, you have to start listening to yourself. Self-value always starts with you. You are setting the example and the world is simply following your lead. Another piece of building unshakable self-value is how you talk to yourself. Some of you are carrying around an inner critic that's louder and harsher than any enemy you'll ever face. You talk to yourself in ways you would never talk to another human being, and then you wonder why your confidence is low. Self-value means changing that voice. It means being your own advocate, not your own executioner. It means replacing "I can't" with "I will." It means catching yourself when you're tearing yourself down and reminding yourself, "No, I'm not doing this anymore. I matter too much." And let's not forget the importance of investing in yourself. Think about how much money, time, and energy you've given to other people, other projects, other distractions. Now imagine what would happen if you gave even half of that to yourself. Self-value means you stop seeing investment in yourself as optional. You read the book, you take the class, you get the sleep, you eat the food that fuels you, you create the environment that lifts you. You stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to grow, and you give it to yourself. Of course, this doesn't mean you'll never face setbacks or doubts. Building self-value is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You will stumble. You will question yourself. But here's the difference. When you have unshakable self-value, those moments don't define you. You don't collapse when things go wrong, because your worth isn't tied to one outcome. You bounce back, you learn, you adjust, because you know your value is not up for debate. It's already decided. And this is where the shift happens. When you truly value yourself, everything else in your life begins to align. You stop chasing people. You stop begging for opportunities. You stop settling for less than you deserve. Instead, you attract better relationships, better opportunities, better outcomes. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. Because you stopped undervaluing yourself and started setting the standard for how you will be treated. So the question you need to ask yourself is this: are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to hold yourself accountable, to raise your standards, to speak to yourself with respect, to invest in your own growth, to protect your energy, to stop betraying yourself for the comfort of others? Because if you are, then you will build a kind of self-value that no rejection, no failure, no criticism can ever take away. That's what it means to be unshakable. And once you get there, you'll never go back. There comes a point when you realize that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is your mindset, not luck, not circumstances, not the people around you. It's the way you think. It's the beliefs you carry. It's the stories you keep telling yourself about why you can't, why it's too hard, why you're not ready. Those stories are not facts, they're excuses. And as long as you keep holding on to them, you will stay stuck in the same place. The truth is this: the way you see yourself sets the tone for everything in your life. If you see yourself as someone who's always behind, always struggling, always less than, then no matter how much effort you put in, you will sabotage yourself. But if you shift your mindset, if you start seeing yourself as someone worthy of success, capable of growth, deserving of respect, you will begin to move differently. You will start making choices that align with that vision. That's where transformation starts, not with some external breakthrough, but with an internal decision. A mindset shift is not just positive thinking. It's not standing in the mirror, repeating empty affirmations. It's a commitment to changing the way you approach your life. It's about taking ownership instead of blame. It's about saying, I am responsible for what happens next. Because here's the reality: nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you the confidence, the success, or the self-respect you've been waiting for. That's on you. The sooner you accept that truth, the sooner your life starts to change. So let's talk about what this shift looks like in action. First, you stop waiting. How many times have you said, I'll start when I have more time, more money, more support, when the timing feels right? Let me break it to you. That moment doesn't exist. There will always be obstacles, always be challenges, always be reasons to delay. The people who succeed aren't the ones who wait for perfect timing. They're the ones who act anyway. They start where they are, with what they have, and they figure it out along the way. That's the mindset of growth. That's the mindset of self-value. Second, you stop seeing failure as proof that you're not good enough. Failure is feedback. It's the universe showing you what needs work, what needs adjusting, where you can improve. Every single person you admire has failed, probably more times than you've even tried. The difference is, they didn't let failure define them. They used it to sharpen themselves, to strengthen themselves, to fuel themselves. When you shift your mindset, you stop asking, what if I fail? And you start asking, what will I learn if I do? Third, you stop needing validation. Most people are stuck because they're waiting for permission from their parents, their friends, their boss, even strangers on the internet. But here's the hard truth. The more you need other people to validate you, the less you'll ever value yourself, because you're training your worth to depend on their approval. The mindset shift you need is this. You are already enough. You don't need someone to co-sign your dreams, your goals, your decisions. You don't need them to clap for you. You need to clap for yourself. And finally, you stop settling. Settling is what happens when you convince yourself that this job, this relationship, this body, this life is all you deserve. Settling is the slow death of potential. But when you shift your mindset, you stop accepting the bare minimum. You stop tolerating environments that drain you, people who disrespect you, and habits that sabotage you. You set the bar higher, not because you're arrogant, but because you've decided that you are worth more. Now let's talk about the call to action, because none of this matters if you walk away inspired, but unchanged. Inspiration without action is just entertainment. You didn't come here to be entertained. You came here because you're ready to take back control of your life. So here's your call to action. Starting today, stop giving away your focus, your energy, your time to things and people who don't deserve it. Pour it back into yourself. That means when your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, you get up. When it's time to work, you focus. When it's time to take care of your body, you move. When it's time to enforce your boundaries, you stand firm. Every small action is a brick. And brick by brick, you're building your value. Don't underestimate the power of those choices. They are shaping your future. And let me challenge you right now, commit to one non-negotiable action for the next 30 days. Just one. Maybe it's waking up early. Maybe it's cutting off a toxic relationship. Maybe it's putting your phone away for 2 hours a day. Whatever it is, commit to it and don't break it, because what you're really building is not the habit, it's the mindset. You're proving to yourself that your word matters. That's where unshakable self-value begins. Look, nobody is saying this is going to be easy. Changing the way you think, changing the way you live, it will test you. People will question you. Some will even resent you, because the moment you start valuing yourself, you become a mirror for those who don't. But that's not your problem. Your responsibility is to yourself. Your responsibility is to protect your focus, raise your standards, and build a life that reflects your worth. So let me leave you with this. Your life will not change until you decide you're done living small. You cannot keep undervaluing yourself and expect the world to overvalue you. The shift starts here, with you. And the call to action is simple. Stop waiting. Stop settling. Stop handing away your power. Focus, value yourself, and watch how everything around you begins to change. Because at the end of the day, you only get one life. And the question you'll have to answer is, did you live it as someone who respected and valued themselves? Or did you waste it giving your worth away to everything that didn't matter? The choice is yours. So here we are, at the end of this conversation. But this isn't really the end. It's the beginning. Because everything we've talked about, focus, discipline, standards, self-value, it all comes down to one thing. The choice you make about how you're going to live your life from this moment forward. You can walk out of here and keep doing what you've always done. You can keep giving your time, your energy, your attention, your worth away like it's nothing. You can keep letting other people decide how much you matter, and if you do, nothing will change. A week from now, a month from now, a year from now, you'll still be in the same place, wondering why you feel stuck, wondering why nothing works, wondering why nobody respects you. Or you can choose differently. You can draw a line in the sand and say, this ends here. From today forward, I am no longer available for less than I deserve. I am no longer going to betray myself for the comfort of others. I am no longer going to waste my life on distractions, toxic people, or excuses. From today forward, I choose me. The choice is not easy. It will require sacrifice. It will demand discipline. It will force you to confront your own habits and hold yourself accountable. But it will also set you free, because when you finally focus, when you finally value yourself, when you finally stop waiting for permission and start living with intention, you become unstoppable. And let me tell you something. When you start living like that, people notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. They respect it. They adjust how they treat you because you've adjusted how you treat yourself. The world bends to your standards. Opportunities appear, relationships improve. And most importantly, you look in the mirror and maybe for the first time in your life, you respect the person staring back at you. That's the power of self-value. That's the power of focus. That's the power of choosing yourself. And it's yours right now if you're willing to claim it. So the question is simple. What are you going to do? Are you going to walk away from this and go back to old habits? Or are you going to make the decision that changes everything? Because the truth is, you don't need another motivational speech. You don't need another book, another video, another pep talk. You need action. You need to take what you've heard here and put it into practice. The time for excuses is over. The time for waiting is over. The time for settling is over. It's time to focus. It's time to value yourself. It's time to live like you matter, because you do. And when you do, the world won't just notice. You'll inspire others to do the same. That is the ripple effect of self-value. One person decides to stop playing small, and suddenly everyone around them begins to rise too. So take this with you. Your life is yours. Your focus is yours. Your value is yours. Don't hand it away. Protect it. Build it. Live it. Because you only get one shot, and you owe it to yourself to make it count.